It's interesting. Seems to me like we just did this bit before. Bill, how are you?
Yes, as you get older, the years go by faster, don't they?
In the office at the Clinton County Fairgrounds. Actually, what is this? The 9th day of July, and you're getting ready for a big fair again.
Yes. The dates this year, we only have about 12 days to get ready. We start on the 21st and we end on the 26th. And hopefully we're praying for the rain to stop so we can get the grounds ready and so we won't have the problem we had a couple of years ago.
I tell you, we've got to get some letters out to some area clergymen to get working for us. I don't know if your knees and mine are good enough to get down there for that long anymore and pray, because we got some puddles out there.
Oh, it's terrible. I'll show you where the carnival sets up every year. Now we had an awful problem there 2 years ago, but we sort of taken care of that by putting drain tile in. But the lower parking lots, like we were talking before, I'm a little bit worried about them. And if we have to use them, I'm afraid we're going to have a couple of tow trucks on duty at all times.
Well, the weather forecast looks pretty good for the next few days, and I haven't seen anything long range to fair time, but hopefully.
Well,
I'm
leaning on the law of averages. Okay, that's all.
Well, I'll tell you, as many people know, there's a lot of work that goes into the Clinton County Fair, and the people in this office have been busy. The phone has been buzzing, and people have been in and out. So you get a little excited, a little nervous. You told me last year you don't know how much longer you're going to be doing this. Guess what? Here we are again.
Here we are again, right?
We don't look a bit older, you and me.
Right. Well, every year at this time, for a couple of weeks before the fair starts, or maybe 3 weeks before the fair starts, my wife can attest to this, that I'll wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and that's all the sleep I'll get the whole night. I just can't get back to sleep. I just keep thinking about what am I forgetting to do? What else can I do to make it better? Any number of things will just keep me awake, along with all the other problems we have. But hopefully, like I said, I'm leaning on the law of averages, and I think that the sun is out there now, and you guys are here. What else can I say?
I don't know. We've been known to jinx a few things in the past, but we'll do our best to support it this year. And it's nice for us to be here a little bit before the fair opens so we can get on television around the 3 counties here in the northern tier of northern New York and say the local people have to support the fair. I mean, that's what makes it go every year.
That's right. And, we're indebted to the regulars that come here, rain or shine, every year. And we just try to get as many people here as we can. Of course, we've got to make a little bit of money to stay afloat. And we start working on this thing right after the first of the year. And I go to Florida for a month or two, but Don Duquette is here taking my place, and I've got a new assistant manager, Steve Frederick, who's here. That anything that comes up, and if they have a problem with it, they call me in Florida. We made a lot of calls there last year.
Did you? The phone was jingling?
Oh yeah. Yeah, but we do have at least 6 months to get ready for the fair, and really we're working on it all year. And when you stop and look at it, we work on something all year, and it's strictly a gamble that you have good weather for a 6-day fair, and it's all year for a 6-day gamble is what it is.
It's a gamble we haven't won every year. I can guarantee you that.
The last couple of years that we haven't won that.
You didn't think big Don Duquette could bend over that far, did you? Look at that, boy! I'll tell you. We just mentioned his name, and he had to come in and see what was going on.
That's right. Yep.
Talk about a jack of all trades.
That's right. Oh yeah, these buildings and grounds, and
he's shaking his
all you got
head.
to do. All you got to do is look at the grounds to see what he does. And we get a lot of compliments on the grounds, and I'm in the office, he's on the grounds. He's the guy that gets the credit for the grounds, that's for sure.
You guys had a circus in here a few days ago, and it didn't sink in the mud. And that's because of that drain tile, huh?
That's right. 2 years ago when we had that mud...
that was awful.
Yes, it was. And that year, Don got his begging hat on, and he went out looking for...
He's good at that.
Yeah. So he got a bunch of drain tile and got some labor, some machinery come in here and dig trenches, and it certainly proved its worth this past weekend. With all the rain we've had, that circus hardly put a scar on the grounds. So the water is draining out of there great. We just wish we had it all over the grounds, if we could afford to do it all over. But hopefully, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I'm on my knees, and we're going to see.
We'll come after it's over and see how well we did with those prayers to heaven. You and I are going to take a little walk around. You're going to tell me what's new and different this year, and we're going to talk a little bit about the 1998 Clinton County Fair.
Good. And then while Calvin's here, we just pan off to see how busy we are getting ready for the fair. I'm not busy, but you can see who's busy.
Oh, boy. Good. We'll take a little walk, Bill.
Okay.
Again, we're on the Clinton County Fairgrounds a few days before fair time, and the excitement in the North Country builds, and everybody looks up toward the sky. But things are going to be a lot different come the 21st. Right here, there's going to be hopefully thousands of people milling around, Bill.
That's right. Yeah, this is probably the main area of this, what I call this Broadway and 42nd Street.
I love it.
This is where all of the people congregate, and something that new they're going to see here is this year next to the Fireman's Building is a new fire safety trailer that I think the Rotary Club and the firemen got together and raised enough money to buy that trailer.
What a project. What a wonderful project, and just proves to all of us how things can happen here in the North Country once a couple of groups like that get together, because how many thousands of kids will get to see that and will learn something about fire safety and save a few lives, and that's a great idea.
Exactly. And a couple of guys that one guy in particular, or two people in particular that I know of at least have been using the trailer, Bob Perrier and Dale Sears in Cadyville, and they've been around using it at different parades, and I was with them in Cadyville parade, and it was raining pretty hard that day, so I used the awning on the trailer to pass out a few brochures. And
the old promoter.
Yeah, and then and Bob was taking people in and out, and he took me on a tour of it and explained what they were going to tell the people. And I'll tell you, it's a very valuable tool to Clinton County, because it shows what the firemen are doing first of all, and then what you can do to save your life, to get out of a burning house. It's very, very educational.
The amazing part of that whole thing is that Calvin and I knew that was going to be a hit. When we first got the idea, I went to a meeting at the Morrisonville Fire Station, and I said, this is a great idea. Yeah. And I promoted it, we promoted it, we did a video which they showed at least 40,000 times during their money-raising efforts, and we hope it did 5 cents worth of good. But
I'm sure that it did.
Not only did they get it, but they got a truck to pull it with, and that's even better.
That's true. Well, it's going to be setting up right here. Maybe if Calvin could pan this thing. We used to have a fence in the back here where we had the fire. There was a trailer that we had here that would have an actual fire in the trailer, and it shows you how the what do you call it, the sprinkler system would work and put it out. So we had to take the fence out of there because the trailer, that new one, is too long, and we'd have it stick it out here in the walkways. And so we decided to take the fence out and just run it in lengthways here, and then they'll have a few other things, their firemen's paraphernalia alongside of on the other side of this expansion here. So this is where it's going to be set up, and
we'll be doing demonstrations every day.
They ever do. I'm sure they're going to have them every couple hours, at least every. And that they'll have demonstrations. Plus, anybody that wants to take a tour through it is more than welcome to do it.
Well, so, considering how many thousands of people put their dollars and $5 into that project, it would behoove everybody in the county to bring the kids down here, go through it, and see where their dollars are working.
Right. That's right.
And you can't do any better than to help the kids.
That's right. And when you got to remember too, the people that are doing this they're not getting paid to do it. Really, they're strictly volunteers, and what would we do without them?
Well, you mentioned that as we walked over here from your office. What would this fair do every year without the volunteer time and equipment, energy?
That's right.
Couldn't do it.
We just couldn't do it. I mean, there's no way. I think we have a staff of probably a year round. We have 4 people on the payroll, and we're all part-time, of course. And during the summertime, we probably get another 7 or 8 people to help us get the grounds going. And during the fair, picking up paper and stuff like that. But the majority, by far, is all done by volunteers. And I just can't say enough about what some of these people have done. I've been here 14 years, and I've seen the same people come back. They just love it. They just love the fair. And I guess that's my problem, too, because I'm still here because I love the fair,
But it is the people's fair.
That's right.
You've said it so many times.
Yeah, that's right. And it's an agricultural and industrial fair, but in order to make this fair survive, we've got to have people come in here along with the farmers, industrial people, and the carnival goers, and we just got to have them all coming through the gate to keep us open.
Good. Let's continue our little walk. There isn't a great deal of new construction going on at the Clinton County Fairgrounds this year for a lot of reasons, but things are looking mighty good there. We just looked at where that fire trailer was going to be, and we have to thank Plattsburgh Quarries for donating the tarmac for that, and all the other people whose the list would be so long if we named everybody who's given a stick of lumber to this place. It's just truly fantastic. We mentioned the 4-H building, which got refurbished last year. It looks great on the outside. We went through a whole project to keep that roof from leaking because things were bad there, but thanks to a lot of volunteer effort, it looks good. The whole grounds look great here, Bill. I can't believe, now it's a good way to look at it today with no people here. Things are looking good. Everything looks neat.
I have to say, every year on this same program, every year, that people come here and they wonder. I mean, the scenic where where the grounds are located with a mountain background, and the neatness of the grounds. We have a reputation in New York State of being the cleanest and most picturesque fairgrounds in New York State. And I like to repeat that every year because I'm sort of proud of it, you know. And like I say, it's due to our grounds crew that keeps this thing going, and they're paid, but I'll tell you, they're underpaid. Let me just say that.
It's wonderful. We came up here and helped out for a few hours, as we do almost every year with the Morgan Horse Association, and just to sit there in the booth and look at that panorama that you told me for a few hours, and it just makes me happy that I live here in the North Country, and this fairground is terrific. It's come a long ways from the beginning, because you and I can remember.
That's right. But what Calvin was just doing was painting the parking lot where we put the tile in 2 years ago, and as you can see where that circus was here last weekend, there's hardly a mention of them being here. And they picked everything up, took everything with them. They didn't make any scars to the grounds. They may have roughed up the grass a little bit, but it should be all spick and span before the fair starts again.
Yeah, that's great. Everything looks good around here. You said you didn't build any major construction. Some years we had to do some construction here, but money's always tight, and this year is no exception. So you built a little restaurant.
We built one little restaurant this year for mainly lobster, and we just refurbished a couple of buildings that we had down by the horse ring for people, one for Western Winds and one for Championship Horse and Rider. These are people that supply saddles, horse dresses. I mean, riding, English dresses or suits, whatever you call them, for the English riders and the Western riders. And other than that, it's just been really a game of maintenance this year, and that's maintaining everything inside. And as you can see on this past building, where the building we're next to now, they're getting ready to paint. They're going to paint this whole building because it was built with the bottom of it is all regular old. It's not that treated lumber that we do everything with now on the ground. And it's quite a job. Every year we have to throw a little paint on that building, but it's better than building the brand new building, and it's one of my busiest vendor buildings. I have 20 garages in there, and we have 20. Busy. That's right. It's a busy spot. Yep.
Yeah, that's mostly texture 111, I think, on the siding.
It's true. It is. Yeah.
But, get it all painted up. It'll look good as new.
That's right.
Oh, Don, see, he smiles every time the camera comes. Otherwise. No, but the grounds do look good here, and this fair has a great tradition, and I think that it would be nice if you had a banner year this year. Don't you think it would be nice?
It would be a banner year.
How many years overdue are we?
Well,
just have them hanging from the rafters at the Clinton County Fair.
Well, if the law of averages works, we're certainly in line for it to have a good one. The last couple of years, like we've mentioned numerous times, last year, the year before it was the mud and all the rain, but last year it was rain again, but not that much rain, but the rain came at the wrong time each day. 5 of the 6 days we got rain between 4 and 6 o'clock, which are the worst times of the day because the people are eating supper or getting ready to do something for that night. Well, I'm not going to go to the fair, it's going to rain. So that really kills us when every evening stopped, and the evenings were great. But people are not going to come up when they see a big black cloud coming overhead and it's raining like hell outside. So
many other things going on in the summertime. It's a whole different age. We like a little nostalgia, and we talk about the fairs we remember as kids. But it's a whole different thing. There are far more pressures and far more things going on, and people with boats and camps and vacations away. But I would like to see people return to that family tradition of going to their county fair, because It's a part of the North Country history.
That's
But more than that, it involves so many people, and it's fun.
That's right. Yeah, the fair is Clinton County, really, because the people from all over Clinton County work here and volunteer here and wait for this thing every year so they can come up here and volunteer. And it's amazing. I mean, like you mentioned, we have a lot of competition for people that come here. There's everything going on. You got the lake, and I've kid with my one of my best friends that runs the Malone Fair, Howard Manili. He's always coming here and said, "Boy, Bill, I love your grounds. I wish I had your grounds." And you say, "Howard, I wish I had your location and your county in a way, because there's really." The fair in Franklin County is the biggest thing that happens there all year, and as far as
Take their vacations,
That's
like
right.
apple picking used to be. Here,
That's
people
right.
take
Yep.
their vacation at that
Yeah,
time.
that's true.
They take their families. That's a tradition I grew up with
That's true.
in Moira. And last year when we went back there, I hadn't been there since I was 18 years old, and it was a kick to go back. But then I look at these fairgrounds, just as you said, and as Howard says, it's such a fabulous place. If we could only instill that
Yeah.
tradition to people and get them coming here with their families
That's
at
true.
least once. And
That's
families down there, they come every day.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of
That's
families
true.
come back every single day of the fair because they take the day off and
Yeah,
and
that's true.
they save their money. Even the kids save their money all year long to go to the fair. We'd like to see that happen here.
Yes, but getting back to things that are going on alongside the fair, we have a racetrack which is less than a couple miles away from here, although they're graciously consented not to have racing this year during the week of the fair.
did they?
So that helped us out. That's going to help us out, sure. But then we have the Mayor's Cup that is going to happen just after the fair, and or when I'm not sure about the date of the Mayor's Cup, but on the 11th and 12th. We're having the big air show up here this weekend, and I'm sure that's going to take some of the entertainment dollars too. So overall we have a lot of competition for that entertainment buck. That's why every year during this show and all my advertising, we push this season ticket. Now, if somebody was to come in here, the first 3 days of the fair, the main gate admission is $7. The second 3 days is $8, so that totals $45. But they can buy a season pass for $20 for 6 days. That's a pretty darn good value. And that's one of the things that we push big time is the season ticket, and that is one thing that I'd like to see personally, as a personal goal, to see more of those sold, because it's even if they can pass it around if they want, it can be used. If you don't come 6 days, at least you can let somebody use it to come for that day that you didn't come. But of course,
If you laid out the $20 and never came at all, it would be a great contribution to a worthy cause.
That's right, exactly. Yeah.
Because without funding, with all this volunteer work, if you didn't have the funding, if the people don't turn out, this fair can't survive. And
Yeah,
I
that's
know
That's true.
every year you tell me it's a matter of survival.
That's
It's
right.
very hard to survive.
It's a gamble, like I mentioned before. We work all year and gamble that the weather will be nice for those 6 days, and it's strictly gamble for the whole year's work, really. Right?
We're going to take another little walk, and then when we stop the next time, we're going to outline exactly what's going to happen for the entire time period for the Clinton County Fair. Now we're on the inside. This is the real excitement for me, because so many fun things happen from this grandstand, and talk about nostalgia. My childhood was spent waiting for the next grandstand, wherever it might be, for horse races, for stock car races, for comedy events, for country stars, and Clinton County Fair always has a few surprises for people. What have you got lined up for us this year, Bill?
Well, at this, of course, the grandstand is the main entertainment venue in the fair, and we have, like you mentioned, we have our tractor pull here. We have the demolition derby, and of course, on Saturday night, our big show. One that we're selling reserved seats for, and by the way, I might say they're really going fast now. They've picked up the last week or so.
Really good.
Yeah, and that's going to be Mark Chestnut, and right now he's got a song is right. I think it's number 3 on the charts.
That doesn't hurt either, does it?
Hopefully it'll just keep picking up and be number 1 by Fair Week. But
by that Saturday night, that'll be
right. So on Tuesday night we start off the night with it's really a not Children's Day, but it's a children's show, and we get a lot more adults than children. It's supposed to be for that Pepsi karaoke show.
That's fun.
And it is
That's
fun.
so much fun.
And they're all local people, and it's amazing the way they perform, and some of those people with a little bit more name recognition, they could be just as well as they could be earning as much as we're going to be paying Mark Chestnut probably. But then on Tuesday night or Wednesday night, we're having a group back from the early 60s, middle 60s. I'm sure you're familiar with the Vogues. And
what shows they do here? I was at their last show in Plattsburgh, and they are amazing.
I was there too.
Wonderful show.
Yeah, I guess it was. And so we're hoping to have a pretty good crowd for that one. And on Thursday, last year, I tried to get Joey Chitwood, and he couldn't make our schedule, and Hollywood Stunt Show.
Joey's been here before.
Yeah, and Hollywood Stunt Show has a nice show too, but neither of them were available. So I called the guy from Hollywood Stunt Show and asked him who would he suggest if he couldn't make it. And he said, well, I don't like to push another show. He said, but I'd contact this guy out of Nova Scotia. And he says he's got one heck of a show. So, and the name of the show is Motor Madness, and they were here last year.
Yeah.
And they were here. They have it's a full 2-hour show, and it's actually I shouldn't be saying this, but it's probably the best thrill show that we've ever had here. And so we hired them again for this year. And in fact, last year they were here a lot longer than 2 hours because 2 of their main pieces of equipment broke down just before the show was over, so they had to stay here and fix it. So they were here an extra day before they can get out of here. But then that's on Thursday, and on Friday we have our annual tractor and 4-wheel drive pull. That is really a popular show, and Bernard Barber runs that one, and he's getting, the show is getting bigger every year, and he said, but it's not big enough yet, Bill. We'll keep working on it, and it's going to compare to any fair in the state except maybe the state fair, and that's kind of hard one to compare with there. Then on Saturday, like I mentioned before, we have Mark Chestnut here for 2 shows, 6:30 and 9, and the reserve seating is right out here in front of the track. We've got about 1,000 seats that we set up, reserve seating. And this year, because of the amount of money, I'm not at liberty to say what we paid for them, but the amount that we paid for them, we figured that we should probably charge a little bit in the grandstand too, because we've had a free grandstand the last 2 or 3 years, but this year we're going to be charging $5 in the grandstand to see Mark Chestnut, and reserve seating, which I prefer, is $10 out on the track. And the reason I push the reserve seating is somebody can come to the fair just maybe an hour before the fair starts. They haven't got to rush to get a good seat in the grandstand. They got their ticket already there, so they can stay right outside on the midway until 5 minutes before show, and they'll get their seat when they come in. So and then on Sunday is what can I say about the Demolition Derby?
What can you say about it?
That one there is it's amazing the amount of people that come to see that show, and that's really I've got to say that show is the one that's probably kept us in the black over the years, especially the last couple of years. That's the big show, because people, even though we've had a couple of good years where we had good crowds at the Country Western show, still, when you have rain, people are just not going to come out. But the people come out for the Demolition Derby, rain or shine. They're here. They're here. They're here.
The bigger the mess, the bigger the fun.
That's true. That's true, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, the Demolition Derby is always a blast, and there are so many other things that happen here on the fairgrounds that we've touched the highlights, but we can't forget all those exhibitors that come here every year. They're just terrific. Yeah,
the Domestic and Fine Arts building, I've always maintained that's when they get that thing set up, it's worth the price of admission just to come in and look at some of the things that people do in the North Country, as far as domestic arts or quilts and stuff like that. But then Helen Sprague will have a couple of 100 pictures hanging on the wall there. They're our local artists, and they're displaying what they do all year, and it's just amazing. When they get it set up, and in that building, besides, we're having the Press Republican is having another photo exhibit from the Parade magazine, photo exhibit.
Great. We
that
saw
was last
a couple
year.
of them last year.
Yeah,
I loved them.
Yeah, and then we're having they have a different one this year, a different theme, but it's still going to be done there, and that'll be in the Fine Arts building too. And then we're having also this year, we got the Racing Pigs back. They'll be doing four
I can hardly wait for that one.
They'll be doing 4 to 6 shows a day, and we have a marionette theater show. It's going to be out in front of Gazebo. That is always a thrill for the kids to watch that, and she's always well attended. She'll have at least 4 shows, and sometimes she says, if I got some time and there's a lot of people around and nothing going on, I'll put another one on for you. So she's very accommodating. And then we have our regular, not our regular petting zoo, but we have a new petting zoo this year. I wasn't really satisfied with the one last year. They didn't come through with what they said they were going to come through with. But this year, I went to another fair last year, and I saw this guy with his petting zoo, and I said, "Could you bring that to our fair?" And I told him we were, and he said, "We'd really be glad to come up." And that's going on. That's a continuous thing. Now, we have a lot of local entertainment, too, going on over here, and we have a pavilion out here outside of the fairgrounds, outside of the grandstand, and at the gazebo, we have a lot of local entertainment, and one in particular that I was kind of anxious to get. A lady called me from Ticonderoga, Mrs. Johnson, and she said, "I was just wondering if you would like to have my daughter sing at the fairgrounds." And, of course, we get a lot of requests like that from different people, and you know, I'd like to listen to them and see what they do, but a lot of them I've never really, I said, maybe you shouldn't, it might be foolish to do it, you know. But anyway, this one lady, she said, "I've got the next Leanne Rhymes." And I said, "No kidding." And she said, "Could I send you up a tape of what she does?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Well, I'll bring it up." And her husband brought it up. So we played it in the boardroom on the monitor there, and she has got a voice. I'll say she's 8 years old. And,
oh, come on.
Yeah,
Just a little one.
8 years old, yeah.
Wow.
So I got her to agree. I got her father and mother to agree to two. She can only do a half hour, but, you know, it's still, she's coming up. That's
isn't that fun?
Yeah, that's one of the examples of the local entertainment that we have. And we have a couple of local bands. We're having the Gibson brothers here. And they're doing a lot of shows all over the country now.
Oh, sure, they're great.
And they had one day, I tried to get them for one day, I guess, I forget the day it was now, but anyway, the only day that they were available was on a Thursday, so they're going to be here on Thursday, before the big show here on the Motor Madness. They'll be playing, I haven't decided where we're going to put them either. I think they're going to be on the grandstand. I'd like to have them on there before the show starts to give the people in the grandstand a little bit more entertainment. But we don't know how the Motor Madness show is going to react to that, because they have to do certain things to get ready for their show too. So I'm just playing out by ear right now. So
We'll see what happens. And I love the cattle. Calvin and I always like to walk through the cattle barns.
Yeah. We got we're having all the animals, the 4-H and cattle and the horse shows and of course the harness racing. We're having 2 days of harness racing in front of the grandstand on Wednesday and Thursday, and Tuesday. Last year, the entries were down in the horse racing, so the horse racing secretary decided just to use the 2 days, and it'll save money, and it makes the shows better anyway. You know, the racing better. They'll have more races on each day.
It's a good thing to promote, though, for people who haven't seen horse races to come and see them for the first time. I'm sure you'll be excited by it.
Yeah, I know OTB has mentioned a few times they'd like to get parimutuel in here too, and personally. I think that I'd be in favor of seeing that because, and if for anybody to come in here to bet on the races, they got to buy a ticket at the gate to get in here.
You got that right, baby. This guy is always scheming, always scheming.
Yeah.
I don't know if that'll happen in our lifetime, but you never know.
Well, we never know. They've talked about it quite a few times, and they had a little shake-up down in Schenectady with OTB, and so the new people, we haven't talked to them at all, or they haven't called us, so I don't know what their plans are. So, but I definitely would like to see that.
Well, let's the Lord willing, and the skies stay a little bit blue. Even like today would be just about nice,
Beautiful.
wouldn't it?
Oh, it'd be great today.
Just before we go, I want you to put your hands down and take a look at this T-shirt and tell me. Of course, we all know what the ice storm was, but what's the story of this?
Well, there's a lady. Dr. Hartung. He's the emergency room doctor. His wife is an artist, and during the ice storm, she lives up on Rand Hill near the big tower, and. She was trapped in there, and she has about a half-mile driveway going to her house, and she was literally trapped and couldn't get out. So 2 or 3 of us went up there and sort of with chainsaws and cut her out, and then brought her down. She stayed with us till her husband came home, and he was at a convention in Florida at the time of the ice. He was one of the lucky ones. But anyway, she's an artist, and she made 20 or 25 of these shirts, and anybody that helped her during the ice storm or where she stayed, she gave us all a shirt. So
those are some of the good ones. I've seen a lot of ice storm shirts, but that'll be a real keepsake. Huh?
Yeah, oh yeah, I hope so. I just wore it today because I wanted everybody to see it. I like the shirt personally.
That's great.
Yeah.
Bill LePage, thanks so much for all your years here with the Clinton County Fair. I hope to see you here 14 more. I don't know how long you can hang in
Well,
there.
I don't know either. But
I know the Clinton County Fair has had some rough times, but if we can say one thing before we leave, it's bring your family, bring your friends, send a little email or call your relatives up in Oshkosh
that's right.
and Miami, Florida, and say, spend a week up here. You want to see what the North Country hospitality can be? Visit us at the Clinton County. Yeah, we were saying visit us at, and then the battery died, and we got the new battery in, and we're up and running again. You said you wanted to say one more thing.
Before we close, I would just like to say that with all the volunteers that are helping the fair, I think one of the greatest volunteers, or one of the group, you and Calvin. Calvin's been coming here quite a few years, and you were here last year and this year. But this is one of the, as far as I'm concerned, I look forward to this thing and being interviewed and talking about the fair. And I just like to say that the fair board and myself we really appreciate what you guys do for us. And I'd like to remind everybody that's watching this program that in order for Calvin to stay around here and you talking to everybody, he's got to have a lot of members. And the membership, I think, what is it, $12 or what?
Or more.
Or $12 or more. Yeah.
He's got that down pat.
I remember what it was a few years ago. It was $12, and I'm sure it's a little bit more because expenses are going up for everybody. But if Calvin leaves the air, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be disappointed, and I hope the hell he's on here for years to come.
Yeah. Amen to that. It's an awful lot of fun and a great guy to work with. But we'll come back and talk to you when it's over, and I want you to be able to tell us this is the biggest and best fair yet.
Okay. Thank you very much, and I hope if we had that enthusiasm with all the people around here, I'm sure we'll have that. And I'm enthusiastic about it, and I just feel that we're going to have that good fair. If we can just dry the grounds out a little bit, everything will be all right.
Come out and see him, folks, for the 1998 Clinton County Fair.